Hello, I hope you're well today. Last weekend I had the best weekend ever. I sat on the back of a motorbike. This was the first time in my life I've ridden pillion, and I sat on the back of this bike and my boyfriend and I rode for a couple of hours to the coast where we sat and had a lovely meal by the sea, and then we got on the bike and we rode home again. Now, on the journey there, I was absolutely terrified. This was the first time I'd done this. I'm quite a cautious person by nature, and I was terrified. I was sitting for about an hour of that journey there. I was clutching. I was on a kind of seat thing with a back to it, and there was a frame, and I was reaching behind me, clutching with my really tense fists. I was clutching this sort of frame behind me, and it took me a good hour to relax into it. But on the journey home, the sun had come out. It was a beautiful afternoon. We'd had a lovely meal. I was totally relaxed, and I really started to enjoy the journey. And I was sat there, the sun was out. I was smelling all of the sort of spring smells. We were in the countryside. We were going along country lanes, and I could sort of feel the warmth of the wind as it was sort of scushing by, and I could smell all these lovely flowery smells, and it was just, the sense of freedom was incredible. It was really incredible. It was exhilarating. And in fact, my boyfriend is the one who's into bikes. He's always been into bikes and cars, and I haven't really. I think I actually enjoyed it more than he did. And now I've really got the bug. I'm thinking, oh, when can we go out on the bike again? And I'm pestering him to go out on the bike again. So I really enjoyed it. And I was reflecting that as I was sat there on the back of this bike, and I'd relaxed on the journey home, and I wasn't clinging on with both hands for dear life, and I was enjoying the scenery, and I was feeling free and liberated. And I thought, this is what being sober is like. This is a really good metaphor for living life sober, in that it can be terrifying at the start. It can be terrifying when you think about doing it. The night before we went on this ride, I was terrified. I hardly got any sleep because I just kept waking up, and I was worrying about all of the what ifs. You know, what if the road's wet? What if we slip? What if I fall off? What if we hit a deer that runs across the road? What if there's a rut in the road and we hit the rut and the bike topples over? All of these what ifs were flooding through my mind. And that's a very similar thing that happens when people start to think about stopping drinking. Quite a lot of what ifs can go through your mind. So it can be things like, you know, what if I end up really dull and boring? What if I never have fun again? What if I don't know how to talk to people? What if I can't go to parties? What if I can't ever dance again? Your own what ifs will be personal to you. The things that scare you about living life sober will be personal to you. But that same sense of trepidation, of fear, of panic can hit you, as it did me the night before, and in fact the morning before I got on this bike. And then there's the actual beginning of the journey. The beginning of the journey can be terrifying. It's tense. It can almost be like white knuckle riding for some people. And certainly for the first hour, it was white knuckle riding for me. But then after that, when you've learnt to deal with it, and you've learnt healthy ways of coping with life and what life throws at you, and you've learnt to relax into it, and you've learnt to enjoy it, and you've learnt to ignore the what ifs and to embrace what's really going on around you in the moment, you get to feel liberated, you get to feel free. And I still now, a few days later, I'm still looking back at that journey home in the sunshine on the back of the bike. Even though I was wrapped up in black leathers and a big black helmet and my glasses and my neck warmer, I was all kind of wrapped up and enclosed. I don't know, there was a feeling of lightness, a feeling of, I suppose, really being in the moment and connecting with what was around me, the landscape and the nature around me. And there was a sense of adrenaline and exhilaration as well, because we were, going quite fast. There was an element of danger somewhere in the back of my mind. And this is similar to my journey, and lots of other people report that this is a similar thing. When they stop drinking and they learn to live life sober, they learn to relax with it, they learn to focus on the benefits and the gains, they learn to live in the moment and ignore the what ifs and the fears and the panic and the anxiety, ignoring all of that and focusing on what they're actually gaining, what life is giving them when they're not drinking. And I just thought that was a really handy metaphor to use, this sensation of riding along on the bike absolutely free. In fact, I got to the point on the journey home in the sunshine, just sort of embracing the world around me, where I was able to let go. My boyfriend had told me when we'd stopped for lunch that when I told him my shoulders and my chest were aching from, rigidly holding on and having my arms in that really unnatural position, he laughingly told me that you don't need to hold on with both hands. You really don't need to do that. He said you can just sit, you don't have to hold on with your hands. And I was like, really? Well, I don't see how that's possible. So bit by bit on the journey home, I kept testing myself. I'd keep one hand on, I'd take one hand off, then I'd swap them over. And then I started to realise, I am still sitting here, it's fine. I can take my hands off. So I could relax my body more, I could relax my shoulders more. And again, it's all about learning as you go along, relaxing into things. When you're living your life sober, you kind of relax into it. Everything becomes automatic and easy the longer you do it and the more you practice it. If you're approaching it in the right mindset, if you're focusing on the gains and the benefits rather than seeing it as a loss and a deprivation, life just gets better and better and better. And there's no way I would have enjoyed that bike ride the way I did last weekend when I'd been drinking. In my drinking days, I used to suffer from excruciating panic and anxiety attacks, debilitating panic and anxiety attacks. And just the thought of having to face that bike ride would have filled me probably with a similar kind of terror that I actually experienced, but I wouldn't have dealt with it very well. It would have grown into something really hard to manage, and I wouldn't have managed it well. And I think the panic and anxiety would have probably taken over. Whereas as it was, I was able to manage my levels of anxiety and I was able to enjoy the experience for what it was. So living your life sober really does open up the world to you. It opens up potential, it opens up possibility, it liberates you to do all of the things and to enjoy all of the things that perhaps when you were drinking you felt were blocked off to you, that were denied you. So I wanted to share that experience with you today of just the freedom and liberation of the connection with the moment that I got when I was on the back of this bike. And also the sheer terror when I first got on the back of the bike and we started going round bends and the bike sort of leaning over to the side, and I'm thinking, whoa, it was really, really scary. But the longer you do it, the longer you sit with the fear, the longer you trust that it'll be okay. It's okay for my boyfriend because he's done it for years. He's been doing it for years and he's okay. Therefore, it's okay for me. And just started leaning with it and going with it. And it just became the most wonderful, enjoyable experience. And now I'm actually bugging him all the time. When are we going out on the bike again? When are we going out on the bike again? And I'm looking online for motorbike leathers because I want to get some leathers of my own because I'd had to borrow some from a friend. So it was really great fun. And I just wanted to share that for you as a metaphor for understanding that although there may be fear at the beginning of your sober journey, there might even be anxiety and panic and terror. When you relax and go with it, it becomes an enjoyable ride. If you want more stories and inspiration, motivation for living your life happily and healthily sober, you can subscribe to my channel. I'll look forward to catching up with you very soon, but in the meantime, let's go get sober together.